You can't tell us we're not looking at something special. Truly is a fresh perspective, especially digging on all this flat drop, man, for so many years. To come across a gem like this where we got a multitude of researchers, man, all praise Thawada that's been doing great recon on this. And first, it was just really special to be able to see our Earth pond, our Earth plane, uh, from this type of perspective. You know what I mean? But then the further we go, and the more we look into this, love to Sibs, man. Sibs put it down, man. Seeing is believing, man. For real, for real. Then we realize we're looking at something even more special than we thought. We're not just looking at our land. Nah, Drop Nation. Man, loud, wow. We're not just looking at our stuff. We're looking at a whole nother world. We're looking at a whole nother world. With a whole nother sun. Which means a whole nother moon out there. And these great filters that the bro Sibs put on here, man, just let us truly see the outlines of these continents that are not our continents. So we said, is this our first glimpse into a whole nother world, man? I'm not talking NASA found another Earth-sized ball somewhere. What's the chances that there's more Earth balls? Nah, I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about this blows the lid off of everything. It was already blown off, but now it's just like, you know what I mean? Samurai chop. Because this is where they've been going, and if not this Earth Pond, another Earth Pond 1, Earth Pond 2, Earth Pond 3. So I'm going to get a few more of your comments that have been coming in. Love to Drop Nation, digging on part 3. This is part 4. And really good to, surf the wave in a nice flat drop series. You know what I mean? We were long overdue for it. It's such a big part. Our orientation, man, being oriented is such a big part, man, in our awakening. Because once you stop spinning, if someone tells you you're spinning, and even though you don't feel it, you just accept it as a fact. Again, love to my jigger, man. Einstein could not measure the movement of the earth through the ether, so he abolished the ether. He threw it out the equation. He threw the ether away, but you got to have the ether. That's like me saying, please give me an experiment with water curving into a ball, and you give me a zero gravity bubble. And I said, nah, Naga, you got to have your gravity. Can't give me no zero gravity experiment to prove a model that must have gravity. Got to have the ether, baby. There is no movement. And there's more worlds beyond the pole. There's more worlds beyond the pole. Make sure we pull that up, because I want to get a bit of chapter 1 like it's the first time. Worlds beyond the pole. Yeah, seems like the bulk of this recon, in terms of the exploration, going beyond the wall, publicly speaking. You know what I mean? It seems like the 20s, the 30s, you know what I mean? But that's when they finally got a handle on the Indian problem, right? First, it was just America was at war with the indigenous. That's why we got to put all this together. We're not just, I mean, we could be you know, with this platform here, man, we could just be doing flat earth stuff, man. And, you know, we have all different people tuning in because they all want to get the drop. But I like to just share it with my tribe and just kind of sprinkle it in, man. You know what I mean? Because, again, if you think you're spinning, when will you ever have a still moment? When will you ever stop spinning, man? When will you ever be still for once, just perfectly still? When will you ever just be still? So it's a big part about, you know, in your awakening process and your, you know what I mean, reactivation. You're plugging back in the source. You got to be firm. You got to be fixed to plug back into your source. You got to be immovable. Worlds beyond a pole. Matter of fact, let's get a piece of chapter 1 now. Then we're going to go into an interesting, we're going to do a throwback off the balcony, man. Hey, out to the balcony surfers, man. Y'all been surfing the wave since the balcony, man. Young Drizzy, man. Young Drizz up, man. It's a beautiful thing. It really is. One day we all going to look back on this investigation. We ain't going to be on YouTube, you know, but you're going to remember us, man. You're going to remember the whole tribe, man. You're going to remember the Ether Squad, man. Y'all going to remember us, man. We going to remember you. This is a very special part in our lives. It's a very special moment, you know what I mean, to be doing this recon and just watching the hijack just, you know, shuck and jive, man, and crumble on itself. All the hijacks are revealing themselves. All you got to do is give them enough time. Everybody reveal themselves. All you got to do is just give them enough time. But there ain't no time. It's only the way. It's the fourth quarter, and we on a war path. It's a frequency war, and the price is going up. Ain't got time for no play. Chapter 1. Just click the links below, get the drop. This is reality. It is truth, stranger than any fiction the world has known. There is no physical end to the Earth's northern and southern extent. The Earth merges with land areas of the universe about us that exist straight ahead beyond the North Pole and the South Pole points of theory. It is now established that we may at once journey into celestial lands, areas by customary movement on the horizontal from beyond the pole points. It is also known that the flight course from this earth to connecting land areas of the universe about us, which appears up or out from the earth, will always be over land and water and vegetation common to this area of the universe whole. Never need we shoot up, never need we go up, never need the rockets go straight up. That's why they don't. As popular misconception demands to reach celestial lands existing under every luminous area we observe at night. On the contrary, we will move straight ahead and on the same physical level from either of theory's imaginary pole points. Imaginary. You're in the mind of a hijack, dog. We're in the mind of a hijack. We're coming out of her. We're coming out of the drunkenness. To think you're spinning on a wobble at 1,100 miles per hour while traveling through outer space at 67,000 miles per hour and you don't feel nothing ever. Confirmation of such a flight course is had in that the U.S. Navy Task Force of February 1947, which penetrated 1,700 miles beyond North Pole points and beyond the known Earth additional and more recent confirmation was acquired by the flight of a U.S. Navy Air Unit January 13, 1956, which penetrated 23 miles over land beyond the South Pole. There is no space whatsoever. There is no space. There is no space. And we're going to get back on that moon plasma business, man. I've been trying to look for some drop on this Professor Foster, man. They shove that right underneath the couch, man. You can't find nothing like that, but we're definitely going to at least talk about it, you know what I mean? We're going to talk about it. That's all we can do is talk about it, have a conversation, dig on it. This drop is not for flat earthers. This drop is for my tribe, you know what I mean? For us to, activate. We're activating, so don't get lost in the sauce. You know what I mean? It all has to be a balance, you know what I'm saying? I used to laugh when I hear flat earthers say, oh, this is the most important secret. I'm like, if you only knew. But it is a big piece. It is a big piece. Let's go. There is no space whatsoever between areas of the created universe, but there must deceptively appear to be space in all observations. That apparent space results from the illusory globalarity and isolation of celestial sky areas. The same illusory conditions have been proved to develop from observation of luminous outer sky areas of the terrestrial. Outer sky means the sky as it is observed against stratosphere darkness. And last drop we dug on the stratosphere and the mesosphere, the dragons, the sprites, the elves, right? So keep all that in mind as we investigate. We dug on this 1972 photograph A-hop to the sister Sonia. Hold up. Where I put it? Where did I put it? Oh, yeah. And the bro Sibs did his thing on it, and now we can clearly see. You have a whole nother world, man. So is this the world that Admiral Byrd, found? Another America, he said. Is our world Atlantis, Is that why the Moorish Mexa maps have everything as Atlantis? You know what I mean? Where's our promised land? I mean, we gotta, go back to the drawing board, man. Because we're not on the only Earth pond. And when you factor in the dragons, I would think the dragons can get from place to place relatively quickly. You got a whole nother sun. You got a whole nother sun being reflected. Great job with these filters. Sibs on instant. So, more land, huh? Just imagine how much is on this land, as long as they didn't mess this up. Just imagine how many resources. Just imagine the trees and the fruit. Just imagine the people. Do those people know you exist? Everyone's on their own isolated flow. These type of filters bring out a lot of these mountainous or pyramidal type of flows. They just pop up all over the place. this one right here, though. This is when the structure started popping out. Sip says, yeah, you can start seeing, it looks like designs. You know what I'm saying? This just looks like a house with a back house. Like a garage, you know what I mean? Like, what's really popping, man? In another world beyond the pole. Another world. But when you think about it, there ain't no isolation. It's just, this is the earth realm. It's not like it's really another world. It's like, nah, it's earth, man. It's earth, you know what I'm saying? Your creator creates, man. Your creator creates. Let's go. So we got some of this last time. Here's a good place right here to pick up. All right, so in October 1926, when he sought the answers to the universe mysteries, wandered through the woodland vale of old New England, lavish with the scented breath of pine and birch and hemlock. There, and as if directed by some unknown force, he viewed a massed white formation of the celestial sky before it developed the luminosity which deepening twilight shadows would bring. Then it was that extrasensory perception's force was asserted, and ere darkness gripped the woodland scene. The seeker in spirit viewed the vast unknown. Time and space became unknown as the portrait of cosmic reality was unfolded to this inner sight. Unmindful of the deductions and conclusions of the centuries, that formidable inner sight penetrated through the luminous sky depth of the resplendent so-called heavens above, moving beyond the limited horizons of ordinary and standardized perception. He was privileged to witness that which the proud sense of sight and all its telescopic lens assistants, regardless of their flaunted power, have been unable to detect from the time the first crude telescope was fashioned. The sensational portrait developed by extrasensory perception was of the sublime creative universe pattern which had defied man's analysis from the unknown hour when terrestrial man first beheld the challenging celestial spectacle, and it brought realization that the then almost 1900-year parable, with eyes you see not, yet believe what you see not, should also contain the admonition that lenses pattern after the human lens. That's what we've been talking about, right? How you got your convex lens, and then you got the convex lens of the telescope. Now you got magic happening. Now you got illusory images. Now you got isolated globular bodies. Now you got things looking separate and round and all kind of stuff, right? But check it. Should also contain the admonition that lenses pattern after the human lens, your eyeball, will be compelled by their function to distort things and conditions. Do they teach us this? Nah, they just say, hey, look through this lens that's patterned after your lens. One concave, one convex go to another convex. Seen and supposed to have been seen in this universe about us, his perception's view extended 1,000,000 miles or more beyond the mathematical boundaries of a felicitously assumed isolated globe. Felicitously, that's a fallacy, that's fake, that's a false, that's bullshit, right? Assumed isolated globe, Earth. It penetrated through the sublime celestial dominion or domain where deceptive lights like flashing eyes of artful courtesans had for untold centuries beckoned and wooed terrestrial man into their enlightening embrace. But terrestrial man, misreading the luminous signals, was denied the long dreamed of pleasure of their propinquity. Had he properly interpreted the signals, he would have long since acquired land areas of the universe about us. There was no misinterpretation of signals by the seeker of 1926. He journeyed to the celestial beacons on the wings of extrasensory perceptions, limitless necromancy, extrasensory perceptions, limitless necromancy. That magic permitted breaking through the long established barriers of deduction, hypothesis, and theory. It disdainfully pushed aside the ice barriers of the terrestrial North Pole and South Pole, assumed in Earth, and there, beyond the poles, the most fascinating creative secrets were divulged throughout the ages that had been held in sacred trust for the doubter and true seeker who ventured that way. The secrets then disclosed provided knowledge of land courses, more land, into all of the land areas of the universe. There's a land course to get everywhere. There's a land course, my naga. A land course, my naga. You talking Exodus? There's a land course, my naga, to get to all the land areas of the entire universe. Hence, to discerning consciousness, it was plainly shown that there are no ends, no ends, no ends to the earth. So let's fall back and surf the wave, man, with the balcony servers, man, back in 2016. Wow. And let's just get a piece of this, man. I'm going to leave the link to this drop right here. This is April 2016, man. We was just surfing the wave. I told y'all, man, we've been digging on it. And eventually we'll get this again, too, this Apizai Flat Earth. Yeah, John Apizai drop. But let go, man. Let go, old drop. Take it away. Young Drizzy, man. Let's go. They don't show you all the land that's beyond here. And some people have other land they're finding once you climb up on the ice sheet. They don't let anybody, explore that anymore. You have to have some type of pass. And if you can get to Antarctica, you're only going to get to like the islands. And they'll have some type of tours around some areas, but they're not going to let you take you and your peoples and your folks and start, doing your own thing. Because some have said after a few hundred miles, you're going to find more land. So when you look at, okay, my planet, like this is Earth, but there are more Earths. Some say there's another sun way. If you keep walking, you'll get into darkness and then you'll see another sun the further you go. There are more Earths. Right. There are more Earths. You keep going. You get through some darkness. Man, it's a great drop right here. You know what I mean? Just that blue, just popping out, man. It's just really showing the difference between the water and the land. There are more Earths. Because eventually, you're going to leave your sun. You're going to leave your sun. And then you'll see a whole nother sun pop up. As evidence, quite possibly right here. Because that ain't our sun, because this ain't our world. Our sun makes circuits around our world. We're going to get back in that Enoch too. He says the sun's 32 miles in diameter, man. So, we're just surfing the wave, man, with young drizzle. Young drop off the balcony, man. Let's go. So this is how we're expanding our conception of reality. Let's go. And it's okay to ask questions. I don't have the proof of everything. I'm just getting somebody else's take on it. In 1919, that dropped this originally in Arabic. Let go. And no one's teaching it to you. So that might be the drop. Uh-oh.
not only was published in this book, but also it was published in the Dumbrova, which is a Russian explorer magazine, 1928. Yeah. Yeah, and also there was a radio announcement confirmed by the press in February 5, 1956. On January 13, members of the United States expedition accomplished a flight of 2,700 miles from the base at Makoto Sound, which is 400 miles west of the South Pole, and they penetrated a land extent of 2,300 miles beyond the pole. Also, yeah, in this book I also sent you in this email, but I'll send it again. There is it's a map to show you that the North and South Poles are not where we think they are. In fact, I've always said that what we know as the North Pole is the central pole.
We'll back it up because I think I missed something. I think we missed something important.
Penetrated a land extent of 2,300 miles beyond the pole. Also,
what did she just say?
Yeah, in this pole, and they penetrated a land extent of 2,300 miles beyond the pole. Also, yeah, in this book I also sent you in this email, but I'll send it again.
They penetrated a land expanse 2,000 to 3,000 miles beyond the poles. So I want to get what she's saying. She's saying they found it or they penetrated that far. That's what I want to understand.
Poles. And they penetrated a land extent of 2,300 miles beyond the poles. Also,
let's see. Let's go.
Yeah, in this book I also sent you in this email, but I'll send it again. There is it's a map to show you that the North and South Poles are not where we think they are.
Listen.
In fact, I've always said that what we know as the North Pole is the central pole. North Pole and the South Pole are actually south of our plane, and they're the two.
Hold up, young Drizzle off the balcony. Hold up, man. Hold up. Let me get that little shot back. Yeah, we gotta get back on this Abazayid. I also
sent you in this email, but I'll send it again. There is it's a map to show you that the North and South Poles are not.
All right, 1920 Abazayid map. Just dig on it, man. Just dig on it. Now, the east and west thing reminds me of something when we talk about this particular diagram right here of the flat plane. And I don't think we would have never described it as flat because we would have never had to, you know what I'm saying? Like, this flat business, it's just, just fucked up English, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're trying to describe something in English, that's like almost not even describable. Because there's so many levels and layers to this plane, clearly it's not flat, you know what I'm saying? But I guess in reference to a ball, yeah, it's flat, you know what I'm saying? But there's so many layers so that the inner hollow earth, all that stuff plays because there's layers to it. When Thoth is building the halls of Amente, and you know what I'm saying, we had a good time on part 3. Make sure you get part 3, just connecting Atlantis with Abaddon, with Apollo, you know what I mean? But when he's building them halls of Amente, he's building into the layers, right? The trees, now think about the giant trees, because we're going to start doing some good callbacks in that series too. The no forest on flat earth, something like that. These trees have root systems. So when you think about the most giant trees that touch the firmament, right? It's supposed to be super giant trees that touch the firmament. Think about how deep their roots go. So yeah, it's not flat, right? But I guess none of us would have ever conceived in ancient times that someone would come to us with some ball earth, space business, outer space business, you know what I'm saying? Instead of understanding that there's more worlds, there's more worlds, there's more worlds beyond the pole. Yeah, this one here though, man. This one here though, man. Do y'all see structures, man? Are we looking at a whole nother world? I mean, y'all just got a vibe to it. Do you see structures? Do you see structures? And if you do, are they aliens? You know what I'm saying? Or are we just talking about another world, man? Another Earth pond. Oh, man, what time is it? 3:30. Look, man, it's going to be brief. But look, we had a good time, digging on that thought business, man. Right? We talked about Atlantis. We just for fun looked up scriptures connected with Atlantis, and all we was getting was Job and Leviathan. Leviathan. We asked a very fundamental question, just a good question. Did Hawa send his Goomba, his dragon? Did Hawa send his dragon to crush Atlantis? Is that what Plato's referring to as a giant cataclysm, earthquake, and all that? Did Leviathan just crush this shit? Whatever portion of that was? Huh? Huh? Then was he sacrificed? This particular one, were there multiple Leviathans? You know what I'm saying? The scripts say, let there be light, and then the sun is created. But what created the light before the sun was created? What light and day? He separated light from day. What light? Well, apparently what is left of Leviathan's skin will be stretched over Jerusalem as a canopy, right? Isaiah 40:22. Stretch it out like a tent. And the light streaming from it will illuminate the whole world. Let there be light. Is this play? Leviathan plays more than you think. So before he's being relabeled in the New Testament, right? Because they need a new testimony. They need to put their guy in charge. They need to put Zeus in charge, I mean, Mercury thought he is the son of Jupiter, son of Zeus. So now they have to make this Leviathan a form of Satan. And now you got the Revelations business and all that, where he's about to devour this child, but the child is Mercury. Got it. It is Thoth coming back. Thoth is Abaddon. And this is what we dug on. So get that drop. Because when you're talking Abaddon, Drop Nation, you're just talking Apollyon. Apollo. Apollo is the son of Zeus. Just like Mercury is the son of Zeus, Hermes. They're both the son of Zeus. They might be the same person. You're just talking about the god of Atlantis. So Thoth, it sure does seem very likely that Thoth is the one that cursed Columbo, Saint Christopher, or the shepherd Cephalus, should I say, cursed him with Cephalus because he wanted to worship his king as a god. And we said, is that really Columbus? Was he really the last of these Atlantean so-called gods that wanted to be gods? Or should I say the last of the Atlantean so-called kings, right? Because he wanted to be the Christ of Ophir. He wanted to be the king of Atlantis. Was he venerated? I mean, he is called Christ of Ophir. Christopher might have been venerated. You're just talking Apollyon as the god of Atlantis, all right? And Apollyon is Thoth. Thoth is coming back, going back into them halls of Amenti, like you said in the Emerald tablets, built deep beneath the earth. He has the keys to the bottomless pit, Revelations 9. So we got all that connection, which is pretty amazing. You know what I mean? Just to see that Thoth has the whole game on lock. I mean, that's why when you look at this drop, And you have Thoth the Moving Island, which brings us back to that Abizaid map, you know what I mean, with the east-west situation, right? So you got east-west, you know, east-west. And that's when we said, oh, east is counterclockwise, west is clockwise. And I told y'all back then, I said I figured out how to time travel. Because back then we were digging on space loops and you have to go a certain direction, east or west, whatever the case is, a certain amount of miles undisrupted, you know what I'm saying, uninterrupted, you know what I mean, without anything, you know, jamming you up. You got to go straight a certain distance according to this space loop thing. Anyway, yeah, man, but east and west ain't what you think it is. You're just talking about spinning, spinning clockwise or spinning counterclockwise. So I forgot which one bring you into the future and which one bring you into the past. But if your ass spin enough times, east or west, just keep spinning a certain amount of miles or whatever the case is, your ass is going in the future or the past. And that's why they got them like gyroscope type things that, you know, like Back to the Future, like spinning and stuff like that, because they got to spin east or west. East or west, man. That's east or west. Is counterclockwise or clockwise. Now check out these arrows, right? So within our world, right? Within our world, we got this clockwise situation, and then right outside the gates, you got the counterclockwise situation. I gotta find this other link. I've been going through all these old videos, and all these links have been like destroyed, removed. You know what I mean? They really come behind us after every drop and just kill the links off. So whenever I drop links, print them out, man. Print them out for me because I'm lazy, man. You know what I mean? Print them out for drop, man. And love to everybody that's downloading my videos and everything over here, because I will be calling on y'all if I need a video, because you know, I don't got enough space on this computer, so I don't typically save stuff, man. But y'all, you know, back me up, man. You know what I'm saying? If y'all got a nice backup situation, you know, back up these videos for me. I appreciate that. I know the Caramel's been doing that for a while, and I appreciate that, man. Y'all got the drop for real, because y'all know how to time travel, man. East or west. So this is going west, this is going east. Now Thoth the Moving Island, he got the whole game on lock, man. See how he's patrolling the boundary? Don't that remind you of the Antarctic Treaty, how they sit along the boundary to do the Antarctic Treaty? You remember that shot? Because they're guarding the barrier. Antarctic Treaty meeting room. Let's see. Yeah. Remember this? Remember this stuff here, man? See, they know this white section out here is Antarctica. And look how they be sitting. They got the Middle Earth. This shit is really happening, man. And that's the shit about it. It's like, this is really going down. You got Middle Earth, what you got in the middle. You got a super tree, right? Tree of life. And then out here is where you got all the countries that are signed on to the Antarctic Treaty. And they guard the wall just like Game of Thrones. Except everything's reversed. Because it's not about, you know, guarding against something out there per se. It's really against guarding you from leaving, you know what I mean? Just like the prison walls. It's not so that folks can't come in, ain't nobody want to go to prison. But it's so that you can't escape. So they guard it in that sense so that you can't escape, you know what I'm saying? Because they're doing all kinds of stuff back there. They doing all kinds of stuff back there. So yeah, Thoth is patrolling the whole barrier, man. Remember the Thoth spell barrier right here in South America. See how close he is to the Thoth spell barrier, right? All right, so we're just getting some orientation, man. Let's get back in it for a few more minutes. Abazai.
Where we think they are. In fact, I've always said that what we know is the North Pole is the central pole. North Pole and the South Pole are actually south of our plane, and they're the two exits. In the book...
Okay, that's what I was wondering. She said the North Pole and South Pole are actually south of our plane, and they're the two exits. They're the two exits. I mean, you know, I'm I'm meditating on this with y'all. The North Pole and South Pole, she said, are south of our plane. So she's talking about past South America then.
Penetrated a land extent of 2,300 miles beyond the poles. Also,
let's see. Let's go.
Yeah, in this book I also sent you in this email, but I'll send it again. There is it's a map to show you that the North and South Poles are not where we think they are. In fact, I've always said that what we know as the North Pole is the central pole. North Pole and the South Pole are actually south of our plane, and they're the two exits. In the book,
I mean, wow. Hold up, man. The North Pole and South Pole are south of our plane. Let's go back to the Buddha map. The Buddha map. So she said they're the two exits. They're almost as if they're like vortexes, you know, like wormholes, right? They're not what we think they are. Nothing's what we think it is. So you got the central pole, then you got the North and South Pole, south of our plane. And we know the map is flipped, so she could be talking up here. I don't know, man. I've gone cross-eyed again. Let's get a little bit more.
Beyond the poles, you'll find that he mentions that there's land beyond the North Pole, but
they're the two exits, and they're both south from this plane. The North and the South Pole are both south from this plane. This, you know, we're always fighting over Africa or America. These people are, they're talking about the land beyond the ice. And that south of this particular land we're calling Earth, we're calling a globe, we're calling a ball of water spinning, and all we can think and conceptualize is this little piece of Earth with Africa and America and Australia, and that's all we know. That's all we know. That's all we know. They got us on a ball of water spinning with only that land saying, look, trust us. We'll tell you about all the land. But you got the drop, and you got expeditions, and you're hearing it, and you're hearing witnesses. And this is something that you can recon. You ain't got to take nobody's word for anything. Nobody's telling you to do that. Clearly, I'm not trying to indoctrinate you to anything. I'm trying to say, what did she just say? Okay. Let's back it up.
Two exits. In the book, World Beyond the Poles, you'll find that he mentions that the South Poles are not where we think they are. In fact, I've always said that what we know as the North Pole is the central pole. North Pole and the South Pole are actually south of our plane, and they're the two exits. In the book, World Beyond the Poles, you'll find that he mentions that there's land beyond the North Pole, but I think he's referring to this according to the map that he's got in the book. I think the North Pole is not what we call the North Pole. I call it the Central Pole. He doesn't mention anything about underground bases that I remember. But I've always been interested, you know. I've known about this for a long time now, at least 30 years. But nobody was talking about it, and, you know, whatever was on the internet was That's also proof, you know.
Excellent point. All these explorers, they say, I'm going to explore the North Pole, I'm going to explore the South Pole, but they always have to come back exactly the way they came. No one's ever went to on sea or plane to the North Pole and came back on the other side of the ball. Yeah. They tell you stuff like that. Oh, we circumnavigated, but all they did. Let me show you how. I'm about to circumnavigate the word perfect. I'm about to perfectly circumnavigate the word perfect. I'm circling it. Bang. I done perfectly circumnavigated the word perfect in 2016. And I appreciate all the balcony surfers, man. I mean, it's always cool to see it right off the balcony, man, where it all began, man, where it all began. Now, there's a link I'll leave here, and, we can actually, I mean, it's so interesting. You know what I mean? It's only 3 minutes. Let's get it, man. Like it's the first time. And, you got the link, download it, you know what I mean? Because this is very interesting when it comes to the polls. I haven't seen anyone else with this perspective. Just like with the moon being plasma, with the
I'm calling from Thailand.
That Professor Foster. I haven't really been able to dig on a lot of stuff about the moon being plasma, right? But we do know that it has a very, very low magnetic charge, right? There's not a lot of magnetism at all when it comes to the moon and love the natural by law. He's been really cutting it open, man, with that magnetism versus, electricity. You know what I'm saying? We think everything's plugged in, it's electric, these charges and all this stuff like that. But we're magnetic people, man. You know what I'm saying? We magnetize, you dig? The X-Man was trying to tell you that, man. Magneto. Nah, man, it's all about the energy, the frequency, man. And it's a completely different light. We showed all those experimentations with the different moon shade and moonlight. Moonlight is cooler, has a cooling property. So moonlight, if you're in moonlight, it's going to make you cooler. It's going to make you colder than being in moon shade. If you're in moon shade, if you're under something shaded from the moon, you put the thermometer in the moon shade, put your thermometer right in the moonlight. Your thermometer that's in the moonlight is always going to be cooler by a certain amount of degrees. That's a different principle, light principle altogether than the sunlight. So that kills their theory that the moonlight is reflecting the sunlight because it would not have an opposite property. It would still have a warming property. It wouldn't suddenly cool the surfaces and be cooler, you know what I mean? Because it's being reflected. If you reflect the sunlight off of any mirror or whatever, it's still going to be hot as hell. It's going to warm things up. It's not going to cool things down. It's not going to change properties just because it's being reflected. But the moonlight cools surfaces. It makes it cooler. It makes things colder. It's a different light altogether. Just like the scripture says, there's a greater light, and then there's a lesser light with this come, to this moon business. One greater luminary to govern this and one greater luminary to govern that. You know what I mean? So, get the drop, man. Get the drop. I'm going to play this and let's just really close our eyes and see if we can, overstand this Central Pole, North Pole, South Pole business.
I wanted to give you some important information. I sent it to you over 6 months ago by email. I never got a reply, so I thought I would phone. Yes, in 1928, Captain Sir George Hubert Wilkins, he found an exit to this plane. He went over 5,000 miles from what they call the end of Antarctica, and he found more lands there. So I read a book. I managed to get a second-hand book 30 years ago called Worlds Beyond the Poles. And there is mentioned, this information is mentioned, and also that these planets that we see, or supposedly see, are actually beyond this land of ours. So what I'm saying is, is that the reason why they're destroying this planet is because they have a way out of here to save themselves.
Let's back it up.
This land of ours. So what I'm saying is planets that we see, or supposedly see, are actually beyond this land of ours.
So, listen up.
Is mentioned, and also that these planets that we see, or supposedly see, are actually beyond this land of ours. So what I'm saying is that the reason why that
well, it ain't bullshit when we pull up this Buddha map, right? Let's just call it the Buddha map. The planets that we see are actually just further out, right? The plane, right? Planet is plane. Planet is plane. I mean, look, repetition breaks the spell. Leviathan, man. How you go from being the creator's dragon to being Satan? What's Satan? Satan is the adversary, man. When has Leviathan been an adversary to the Negro, to the Naga? When, man? He probably sunk Atlantis, though. I mean, he probably did that. So they called him the Crooked Serpent. But nah, the crooked means to wind. The crooked means to turn. The crooked means to twist. The crooked refers to his coils, not his personality. This is Hawa's plaything. This is his homie. He was about to devour Merc Retro, devour Mercury. And then Hawa sent Behemoth, right? First, he summoned the angels, just like it says in Revelations, Michael and the dragon, right? But see, the way they're reflecting this Michael, you know what I mean, it's bouncing off of a lot of dragon slayers, you know what I mean? Michael's a dragon slayer. You gotta be careful about these dragon slayers, man. The way they're writing them in. I'm saying the way that they're projecting this Michael, right? God will summon the angels to enter into combat with Leviathan. But no sooner will Leviathan cast his glance. Remember the one with the deadly glance when we talk dragon? Come on, man. Y'all know the dragon drop. You know what it means to be a dragon. When we talk etymologies. Yeah, man. You know we're just talking to see clearly. And when you have that sight, when you got that eye, you got that deadly glance. The one with the deadly glance. That's why when it comes to Leviathan, he has a deadly glance. And what did he do with his deadly glance when Michael and the angels, when the angels tried to roll up on him? Because they were summoned into combat. Because why? Remember, he's being sacrificed. The real purpose of Leviathan is to be served up as a dainty to the righteous in the world to come. What world to come? What world to come? What world? Are we just talking about another world beyond the poles? Yeah, Leviathan's being sacrificed, but now they got Jesus being sacrificed, right? He's stepping on everybody's toes, I tell you. Phantoms, duplications. Why? Some of these angels. Why? Because Leviathan was to be served up for food to the righteous. Remember, his skin is where you're getting light, man. His skin is where you're getting light. So what kind of food is this? It's not like regular fish, regular meat to all my, you know what I'm saying, real ones that put down the meat. Don't be like, oh man, I don't want to taste that meat. This ain't that type of meat. I'm talking about the light streaming from it will illuminate the world. I'm talking about the energy, the frequency, the vibration. We're talking mana when you talk Leviathan meat. You're talking elect or magnetism, you know what I'm saying? Magnetized, energy at its finest when you talk Leviathan charged up. I'm talking fully charged, you know what I'm saying? So Is that what this manna is? And is this firmament Leviathan scales? Or we're just talking Leviathan scales because his scales can turn back steel like straw. Remember, they were trying to shoot missiles at the firmament, right? Operation Fishbowl. They were trying to shoot missiles. They would be equally unsuccessful when they attempt to kill him by throwing darts, slinging stones, and such missiles will rebound without leaving the least impression on his body. Did Hawa use Leviathan scales for the firmament? Well, he sure did use his skin as a canopy, as a shelter. I don't think it's out the question that Hawa, as he was using his skin, remember he matted out the firmament. I beat it out. Rakwa, Rakwa, I beat it out. While he's beating out, using Leviathan skin, stretching it over Jerusalem. Now, that's really interesting when you talk firmament and separation and, what's the separation that Hawaii made with this firmament? Is it just over Jerusalem? Is Jerusalem the entire earth pond? Which earth pond is Jerusalem? Which earth pond is Jerusalem, man? I mean, that's the question. We're just asking the right question, man. Which earth pond is Jerusalem? Which one? So Leviathan plays heavy, especially with the sinking of Atlantis, because again, we just put in, hey man, give me some scriptures connected with Atlantis. Now, we got this one. This particular, researcher is trying to disprove, all of these particular theories. And I think they just are really giving us some solid shit on the low. I think they just kind of sliding us some game. But he goes on and, check it out. Check out his counters, you know what I mean? But here are clearly some theories that he wants to disprove. And some of these theories we've never even heard of. So that lets me know there might be some drop. The Bible as a source for most ancient times, well, we know for real, that's a fact. Paradise and deluge as memories of Atlantis. So you're talking Garden of Eden, you're talking Noah. Yeah, that definitely looks like is a good possibility. That deluge in Noah is the same deluge with Atlantis, which lets you say, when did this happen? When did this go down? When did this go down? How recent is this? Remember, Perry Reese map got Antarctica with no ice on it in the 1500s. Like it just got frozen over in the 1600s. And you got these big cataclysms going on with these comets. You got a comet popping off in the 1500s, a big comet in the 1800s. Is it all the 1800s because the timelines are shifting around? Did the sinking of Atlantis just happen in the 1800s, 1700s? How would we know? How would we know this shit could have just happened 200 years ago? It could have happened a few hundred years ago. Like, it could have just happened. Don't put it back 10,000 years because they want to, for their convenience. Enoch, the first city of humankind. What's this Enoch tittling about? Japheth is the king of King Atlas? Is Japheth King Atlas? Wow. Well, Atlas is Poseidon's son. How does this all link up to the script, man? Giants as sons of God from Atlantis. The Israelites as a people from Atlantis. I mean, if you're labeling this land Atlantis, I guess so. Babylon equals Atlantis. Sure. I mean, how are you disproving that? He's going to try to go through the timelines. And, I do want to check this out. It is a popular fallacy to identify Noah's son Japheth with Yephetus, son of Uranus and Gaia, and father of Titan Atlas. And this Titan Atlas is in turn identified with King Atlas of Atlantis. King Atlas of Atlantis. Is this the same Alcathous? First, it makes no sense to identify a person of Hebrew mythology with a person of Greek mythology. Why not? Somebody's copying somebody. Both persons play a very different role in their respective mythology. So clearly you see his methodology is to just say that's not right. You know what I'm saying? It's wrong to identify, oh, first, it makes no sense to identify a person of Hebrew mythology to a person of Greek mythology. Where do you think Greeks are getting mythology from? They're hearing old fables and stories of these supernagas, real supernagas, not the reflection supernaga, the real OG supernagas. But he wants to say, oh, they're completely different things. So, you dig on it, man. But I think there's some drop in these theories that he would like to disprove. But yeah, we looked it up, man, and all we got was this Leviathan drop. So Leviathan has everything to do with Atlantis. And now this Sheol is what I keep missing. I'm glad I ran into this point. This got us thinking, is Sheol Atlantis? Uh-oh. Is Sheol representative of the destruction of Atlantis? If you go down to Sheol, you're going down to the buried Atlantis. Wow. So this reference came to be, later in reference to this cataclysm of hell down below from the folks, that was representing these hellish frequencies that Hawa had to destroy. You're talking all kind of splicing and dicing and all kind of abominations popping off with this Atlantis. And whatever part was destroyed, is that the part that's represented as Sheol? And when Thoth got the keys to the bottomless pit, is he bringing them down to Atlantis, the sunken Atlantis? Is Sheol, Halls of Amenti, all connected with the sunken Atlantis islands, man? What does Sheol and Atlantis have to do with each other? I mean, when you talk Abaddon, the same Abaddon that's in the Revelations 9 and the same Abaddon that's in Job. Remember, they say Job is the first or the oldest book in the whole so-called Bible. Many scholars say that. That's what we're getting. So that's interesting. Because now that puts Leviathan at a time when he could have destroyed Atlantis. And then now you got this repeopling situation. I mean, how many Leviathans are there? You think it's just one? We know there was at least two, male and female. Which one destroyed Atlantis? Which Leviathan? Abaddon is a place of destruction. Atlantis was destroyed. Apollo, Apollyon, remember Apollo or Apollyon or Abaddon is not just a place, it's a person, right? But remember, it's both. You got the duality of it all. So when we talk Abaddon, you're also talking the place. And I'm saying relate that place. Start relating that place just for the sake of the investigation to Atlantis. Now you got all these same characters popping up in Revelations. You got Leviathan now appearing as the red dragon fighting against, Michael and the angels and all that. But what really happened? You know what I'm saying? I mean, what seems to be lining up based on what we're discovering as we go, right? So they try to fight them, all your angels, right? God summons the angels, right? Hawa comes and says, go get him, man. Archangels, go handle that. They will be equally unsuccessful when they attempt to throw darts, slinging stones. Such missiles will rebound without leaving the least impression on his body. Disheartened, the angels, Michael and them, will give up the combat. They say, I'm cool, I'm out of here. And Hawa will command Leviathan and Behemoth to enter into a duel. And that might connect with some of the Mud Fossil University drop. Go check that out. So the issue will be that both will drop dead, Behemoth slaughtered by a blow of Leviathan's fins, and Leviathan killed by a lash of Behemoth's tail. From the skin of Leviathan's, Hawa will construct tents. I stretched them out like a tent to shelter companies of the righteous, pious, while they enjoy the dishes made of his flesh. So is this a combination of the manna? Is this a combination of the firmament, the shelter? You know what I mean? With Leviathan, and what has it got to do with Atlantis? Because it appears to have everything to do with Atlantis. We're just surfing the wave. The ones with the deadly glance. Remember, my naga, this man or woman is a dragon. So in real time, it seems to, have this application, have this connection. And I'm just, glad that we are revisiting a piece of this. We got a couple more minutes on it, and we smashing to talk about this moon and this plasma business. Let's go.
Destroying this planet is because they have a way out of here to save themselves. Yes, this information not only was published in this book, but also it was published in the Dumbrova, which is a Russian explorer magazine, 1928. Yeah. Yeah, and also there was a radio announcement confirmed by the press in February 5, 1956. On January, 13 members of the United States expedition accomplished a flight of 2,700 miles from the base at Makodo Sound, which is 400 miles west of the South Pole. And they penetrated a land extent of 2,300 miles beyond the pole. Also, yeah, in this book I also sent you in this email, but I'll send it again. There is, it's a map to show you that the North and South Poles are not where we think they are. In fact, I've always said that what we know as the North Pole is the Central Pole. North Pole and the South Pole are actually south of our plane, and they're the two exits. In the book, World Beyond the Poles, you'll find that he mentions that there's land beyond the North Pole, but I think he's referring to this according to the map that he's got in the book. I think the North Pole is not what we call the North Pole. I call it the Central Pole. He doesn't mention anything about underground bases that I remember. I've always been interested, I've known about this for a long time now, at least 30 years.
All right. So I wanted to bring it back so that we can at least, have that to add to our orientation, man, when we look at this particular gem, dropped on us by Sister Sonia. And, we know that we're looking at another world beyond the pole. 1972. I think part 2, we got, just a nice little dig on all the satellites that were launched, all the NASA satellites, all the stuff, There's a lot of satellites being launched at that time. So because I saw it in 1972, I said, well, who could be, the culprit of taking this shot? And of course, you got the Apollo 17 mission in 1972, the last mission. Where were they going? Just think about it. All that hoopla, they had to go somewhere, right? They had to, take some photograph. They say that, one of those astronauts got a photo of Earth from outer space, But this might be in one of the photos. This is just one of the photos. Man, I mean, don't you wish you can get your hands on much more of these? And I've searched this like y'all probably searching this. I can't find nothing. Like I said, if you could find this picture anywhere, if you find it anywhere on any website, on the World Wide Web, wherever you looking, anywhere, on any form, after all the work we put in to this flat drop throughout the years, the fact that this is a unique photo and it's, checking out, from those that, are checking the authenticity of it. And I'm getting nothing but the nod like, yeah, man, this is real, bro. This stops everything in its tracks. Then you start to really start seeing clearly like a mug, man. You start to just at least, enjoy the peace of mind that all this time, all the digging that we've done is leading to validation and confirmation that we are just one earth pond. We're just one earth pond. And just like you think about outer space, think about the infinite plane. Think about an infinite plane with more ice, more water, more vegetation, more people, man. Ain't that something? Ain't this something? And that's why they was popping off these so-called satellites and doing all this travel. This is what the NASA, this is what they've been doing. But they said it was outer space, but they just meant we just gonna keep going straight. This is what they was doing. Then they had to go underground. Now, you know, they got these puppet missions. NASA just launched something recently, and it was a failure, but because it landed on the land and not the water, they considered it a big deal. You know what I mean? Like, y'all just having a puppet show at this point. Everyone's all into it. Oh, look at the rocket, it landed. Nigga, they taking off, man. They're taking off, man. This is another world, people. We're in what's this, part 4? It's part 4. Man, we in another world. I still can't believe it, man. Still can't believe it. So, all praise the while. We'll keep getting some more drop on what's popping, man. Y'all hit me up, music at 432thedrop.com, and I can lace you with this particular link that has all the filters, all the drop on it, man. So, I've been doing my best to get back at everybody, you know what I'm saying, as quick as possible. Let's take it in to the moon, man. To the moon, man. And we'll just cover a couple things for the dismount. Shalom, dodge all hijacks at all costs. You already know that. And remember what old boy said about the moon. Let's pick it up from here again.
10 or 11 years ago, I stated to various scientists that the moon is not a piece of rock, but it is plasma.
Now, I need you to read into his soul and tell me if he's lying to you. Oh, but what about the craters drop? Hey, man, I can't tell you nothing about optical illusions at this point, man. You know what I mean? I don't know what I'm looking at. We don't know what we're seeing at this point. We got to just take a step way back. The moon is plasma. The moon is plasma. All right, let's go.
You have a theory about the moon, and we expect to be able to get observable facts about the moon fairly soon. What is your theory? Well, it is by now rather more than a theory. 10 or 11 years ago, I stated to various scientists that the moon is not a piece of rock, but it is plasma, a plasma phenomenon, cosmic plasma, and that this fact will eventually be confirmed. I made certain predictions which were already confirmed in 1958, and the situation now is coming close to a complete confirmation. What will be the result if you are proved to be correct in your theories? The result will be profound and decisive, because it will give proof the complete reinvestigation of the laws of nature is necessary. Because if the moon is a plasma, no man will ever land on it. The self-landing attempts will all fail. That means that the mass of the moon is less, far less, than is currently assumed. It's in a different state of energy, and it has far less mass. That means
different state of energy, far less mass.
there is no more explanation for the tides. If the moon, for example, had only 1,000th part of its current mass, then the tides would only be 2 inches high under conventional theories instead of sometimes.
So all that gravitational tide bullshit, get it out of here. No.
14 feet. And that means that if it is proof that the moon is a plasma, then all gravitational theories are out. And the new
gravity, no. I like this guy. I like this Professor Foster, man. You the man. You the man. See, look, man. People be tripping on this and that and that. Just come to me with the real spill. I respect you. I'm going to tell you who I am. Don't tell me who I'm not. And we good. I don't have no beef with nobody. You know what I'm saying? I don't care what tribe you are. I don't care what level in the game you think you in and not in and all that shit. You know what I mean? Just come real to me, man. Yeah, I'm going to come real to you. We can bypass all the bullshit. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to tell you how this investigation is going, and all you can do is respect it because it's an honest investigation. And anytime our brothers and our sisters are on a true, honest investigation, I was not indoctrinated to no studies and that I'm teaching you based on some mystery school that I went to. You know what I'm saying? You just got the drop off the balcony. We started searching at the same damn time. That's why it's so respected what we do over here, because y'all saw when this popped off. Y'all saw when we started reconning. Y'all saw how we put this together. This is brand spanking new how we flow. I didn't even know I was about to start dropping flat drop. This is an inspiration from Hawaii. And we give all credit and all praise to our creator that we can do something publicly speaking, publish our work, publicly speaking, and have a public investigation, and there's nothing they can do about it because it's too smooth. Oh, we just surfing the wave. Plasma? You said plasma?
That the mass of the moon is less, far less, than is currently assumed. It's in a different state of energy, and it has far less mass. That means there is no more explanation for the tides. If the moon, for example, had only 1,000th part of its current mass, then the tides would only be 2 inches high under conventional theories instead of sometimes 14 feet.
Bang.
And that means that if it is proof that the moon is a plasma, then all gravitational theories are out. And
Bang.
a new concept of the cosmos and of its laws has to be evolved.
Let's go.
Aren't you being a bit adventurous, though, because you know we're going to be able to test out your theories on the moon fairly soon? Well, not anymore. 11 years ago, of course, it was rather taking a risk. I was considered a lunatic, of course. But by now, the evidence, accumulated evidence, is already so much in my favor that I'm not taking any risks anymore. On the contrary, there's scientific views expressed all over the world now that the moon seems to be of a quite different nature of what was assumed.
But the Americans and Russians are thinking of landing men on it.
Well, that will never happen. Not on.
He didn't hesitate, bro. Look, man, he seems supremely confident in what he's saying. I mess with him and what he's dropping before any of this scholastic, oh brother, I got the drop type of stuff. If you ain't talking about the moon being a plasma, don't even holler at me, because he's he's coming with supreme confidence, man, and independent recon. Now tell me, what researcher today like this is going to step up? Who's going to call these people out on their bullshit? Who's going to call SpaceX out on their bullshit? Who's going to call NASA out on their bullshit? Nah, because they're all going to lose their grants and patents and all that shit. You know what I mean? They all stick together. So what we're witnessing is the end of a certain breed, a certain time, where we had explorers and true independent scientists, and they were truly searching for repeatable and observable, recon and science, man. That's what science is, something that's repeatable, observable. They wouldn't sell you on no ball earth theory if they couldn't, prove it in a repetitive, observable, fashion. If they can't form water into a ball with the mechanism of gravity holding it together, and put masses on the shit and spin it at 1,000 miles per hour. If they can't do an experiment like that, he ain't even gonna try to sell you on it. That's a real scientist. He's not gonna say, here's my theory, here's my belief, but it can never be a law because you can't prove it. You can't prove gravity. Get it out of here. That's not science. It's just, someone trying to hijack a reality. We're just trying to see clearly, man. Dragonfly perspective.
The moon. On Mars, on Venus, and other planets, yes, but the moon is definitely, as I assert, the plasma.
Isn't there a slight contradiction? You mentioned the moon and the tides, Mr. Foster, and at the earlier part of the interview, you talked about the tides sweeping over the Earth.
Well, there is no contradiction there, because once the moon is proven not to be a piece of rock, not something of far less mass, and the gravitational theories are out and discarded, new concepts have to be involved which will show that the lawfulness of nature in the cosmos is identical to that in a hydrogen atom or in atomic processes. And when this is understood and worked out in full, it will be found that the physical processes of the Earth are quite different in geophysics of what is present assumed, and that lawfully in certain periods, mostly during the ice ages, which occur every 200 million years, and there is a reason for that, the axis of the Earth suddenly tilts over. And when this happens, then you get the floods of the Bible, which were recorded before. The tides, the ordinary, everyday tides, have an explanation, even if the moon had almost no mass at all, because they are field effects. They're induced by cosmic pressures.
Now put it all together, because he's talking about the poles, he's talking about the tides, right? And how these things flip over. So, dodge all that hijack, because, he can't be completely hijack free. But the moon definitely might be a plasma. But this stuff flipping over, the poles reversing. Now think about the drop we just got with the poles, right? So are the poles reversing or are they shifting around in the plane? Is it the ball flipping over or is it some type of, magnetic situation, to where these areas, these vortices are shifting around on the plane. So everything gets way simpler to explain when you're talking about on the plane than just some ball and then these things flip over the poles, and that's the North Pole, but that's the magnetic North Pole. We're about to get some more on that. I'm just saying, it got to make sense.
Which exist in the field of our solar system.
What's the benefit to mankind in your theories?
Well, the first one, and the most important I would briefly put down is this. I think it is a new conception about the nature of the cosmic world and about the nature and the veracity of consciousness, conscience, of morality. At present, we have a glaring contradiction in the assertions of fundamental science. Scientists assert that they are completely uninhibited in their pursuit of truth, that they're completely uninhibited in their pronouncements, and that they produce for mankind, out of their knowledge or understanding, means which man can use according to his moral nature. So if the scientist produces a television set or a jet motor car, or a hydrogen bomb, it is up to the common man then to use it in a manner which he finds according to his human nature. Yet, the very same processes of dialectics of science also declare that morality, concept of man's moral nature, is an illusion, that it is merely behaviorism or something due to conditioned reflexes or to herd instinct. And this, of course, is a contradiction which must be resolved and must go out. And it will be found as a consequence, what I had the privilege to see and to experience in my mind, that there is a moral law in the universe in which we partake and which is binding on us and which is decisive on our future.
Listen up. This is the hijack. This is the synthetic. This is the only way that they can explain that there's a law involved in everything. So when we say law, don't reject I know that we don't speak English and we're saying law, and it's not in our language. When we say law, we're just saying the order of things. You know what I'm saying? Everything's ordered. They have a reverse of that. They say everything comes out of chaos and order is born out of chaos, because to them, they must, start that chaos. They must jumpstart that chaos. And with that, they can form their new order. They can't go off the old order, because the old order is Hawa. Hawa is the forever order. It's the ancient. It's the future. They have a small little window, a small little point in time to hijack you and to get their little heaven and to get you this deceived and get you this lost. But you see what's happening. I didn't go to no special school to drop the stuff that we're dropping. I didn't learn this at UC Davis in college. We didn't talk about freeing our people. You know what I mean? This ain't nothing on the agenda. You can't get this in no college university. You ain't gonna get this. I mean, everything that we're digging on has come from the gut bone, come from the heart bone, man. It's come directly from Hawa to be unsealing, these mysteries, man, right in real time. Let's get that last part.
Let's to see and to experience in my mind that there is a moral law in the universe in which we partake and which is binding on us and which is decisive on our future. Now,
there's a moral law. So he's saying, yeah, the creator exists. The creator exists.
In the practical aspects, when it is understood that the geophysical laws are quite different and that this tipping over of the Earth axis has occurred often, suddenly in the past, and will occur again. If the new view is elaborated, and I will not live long enough anymore to do that, it will be understood that the speed of light is not a universal constant, as it is now the foundation of science, that is changeable. And that perhaps 50 years before the next change of axis, there will be an increase in the speed of light. And if scientists will work out why and how, then there will be sufficient warning that mankind can prepare itself. Instead of building atom bomb shelters and hydrogen bombs by the millions, we will build provisions of making humanity floatable and to survive this crisis. So it comes again to the age-old concept that truth is the guidance, the hope, and the directive of the human mind.
Yeah, man, he's all right.
Must strive to understand and to know the real nature of the world.
You all right, Professor Foster, man. A little hijack, but you all right, man. They got me thinking about that Admiral Byrd. If you're just surfing the wave, you don't know what we're talking about. Admiral Richard Byrd interview. And I just want to get the piece where he said he saw another piece of land beyond the pole, just like the previous researcher that was talking about the central pole, she had mentioned as well. First flight over North Pole. Interesting. Let's check this part out. I do want to dig on some other stuff. Operation High Jump. Yeah, man, High Jump. They're trying to get over that barrier, huh? We're going to check a couple of these out. We're going to fall back. You know what I mean? Yeah. Might touch on a couple more things, but we pretty much right there. Let's just dig on this.
It's time for the Longines Chronoscope, a television journal of the important issues of the hour, brought to you every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. A presentation of the Longines Whitnor Watch Company, maker of Longines, the world's most honored watch, and Whitnor, distinguished companion to the world-honored Longines. Good evening, this is Frank Knight. May I introduce our co-editors for this edition of the Longines Chronoscope? Larry Lasser, CBS News correspondent, and Kenneth Crawford, National Affairs Editor of Newsweek magazine. Our very distinguished guest for this evening is Admiral Richard E. Byrd.
The North Pole used to be a no man's land, but these are the days when, by buying a ticket on a commercial airliner, you can fly across the North Pole and drink a cocktail at the same time. You know, only 60 or more years ago, about 35 years ago, our guest tonight found out whether there was any land north of the North American continent. He made that first discovery flight, and I must say that Admiral Byrd, our guest tonight, is not only our greatest living explorer, but he's been an inspiration to countless Americans. Admiral Byrd, you've been to both the North Pole and the South Pole. Is there any unexplored land left on this earth that might appeal to adventurous young Americans?
Yes, there is. And not up around the North Pole, because it's getting crowded up there now, because they find out it's really usable, not only to live in, but militarily. But strangely enough, there's left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being. And that's beyond the pole on the other side of the South Pole from Middle America. And I think it's quite astonishing that there should be an area as big as that unexplored.
That's a tremendous
So
job.
there's a lot of adventure left down at the bottom.
I must say that Admiral Byrd, our guest tonight, is not only our greatest living explorer, but he's been an inspiration to countless Americans. Admiral Byrd, you've been to both the North Pole and the South Pole. Is there any unexplored land left on this earth that might appeal to adventurous young Americans?
Yes, there is. And not up around the North Pole, because it's getting crowded up there now, because they find out it's really usable, not only to live in, but militarily. But strangely enough, there's left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being. And that's beyond the pole on the other side of the South Pole from Middle America.
From middle, where's my Buddha map, man? Where my Buddha map? Where my Buddha map, man? Where my Buddha map? From Middle America. Where my Buddha map, man? Where my Buddha map? We're just talking about Middle America. I mean, this gives us a nice perspective, Khan. So they asked him about the North Pole. So whether he's talking the Central Pole or some other North Pole down here as an exit, he might just be referring to up here. And yeah, it's getting crowded. There's a usable militarily, tree of life type of situation popping off maybe. But down here though, hey, it can't get crowded. It's too much more land beyond the pole. Too many more earth ponds. So think about this earth pond that we've been, pontificating, pondering on. Do they all have this exact shape? When we look at this Buddha map, is there just, are these all into earth ponds? I mean, or are they, this is just makes you kind of, really open up to seeing clearly, man. Every time I see this Admiral Byrd interview again, man, I'm like, So which one is he referring to when he talks about the one he saw, a land the size of America? And where's Thoth the Moving Island, huh? Which one is Thoth the Moving Island? Let's get a few more minutes. We just enjoying the flow. Did some great callbacks along the way. This is the Long John's chronoscope. Chronoscope. Long John's chronoscope. All right, man, let's go.
And I think it's quite astonishing that there should be an area as big as that unexplored.
That's a tremendous
So
job.
there's a lot of adventure left down at the bottom of the world.
Well, Admiral, do you hope to see that?
I do.
Well, Admiral,
Yeah.
would you say that since you've been to both the extremities of Earth. Are these expeditions to such far-off places, are they getting easier because of modern techniques, or is danger still close at hand?
Well, it's a little risky, but nothing like it used to be with the old slow planes and the small cruising radius where we had to put down bases. We replaced the dog teams, and of course that was a big improvement. But now the planes go much faster and they are safer, and they have a much bigger cruising radius. You haven't got the danger of a terribly heavy load.
Admiral, an expedition to which I believe you're the advisor is now en route. What is that expedition doing?
Now, instead of expeditions, my knock is what we're saying is now they have SpaceX. NASA going to Mars. They got us all confused and all caught up into this, outer space travel type stuff, when in reality, all the drop is happening right here on the same level. Back then we had expeditions. Expeditions, that the public can get behind, that they can interview you about. Oh, okay, you about to go beyond those poles again, Admiral Byrd? In what, the 30s, whatever? So, you about to go beyond those poles again? You're going to find more land? He just asked him straight up to his face, is there more land? They weren't worried about where it fits on the ball. He just said, hey, you're doing an expedition. They didn't have the balls to try to hide something like this from the public then. Now they don't give a shit about us. He just asked them to his face, Bone. I'm just getting this
American
piece.
continent. He made that first discovery flight, and I must say that Admiral Byrd, our guest tonight, is not only our greatest living explorer, but he's been an inspiration to countless Americans. Admiral Byrd, you've been to both the North Pole and the South Pole. Is there any unexplored land left on this Earth that might appeal to adventurous young Americans?
Yes, there is.
Yes, there is. This alone opens up the entire theory. Worlds beyond the pole. Yes, there's more land. They didn't say, where does that fit on my ball? That's 25,000 miles in circumference. They say, yeah, there's more land, and yep.
And not up around the North Pole, because it's getting crowded up there now, because they find out it's really usable, not only to live in, but militarily. But strangely enough, there's left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being. And that's beyond the pole, on the other side of the South Pole, from Middle America. And I think it's quite astonishing that there should be an area as big as that unexplored.
That's a tremendous
So
challenge.
there's a lot of adventure left down at the bottom of the world.
Or there's just a lot more worlds beyond the poles. There's a lot more worlds beyond the poles. I'll leave this link. You can get it. He's going to go into, seeing all the different metals and the military aspect of it. You get the drop. All right. Now, you remember we got that drop on Admiral Byrd, or was it Flight Secret? I don't. Let's see. The Secret Land. Operation High Jump. Oh, okay. We might have to belly flop in that one. This is one we got before as well. Let's check this one out. I'm just belly flopping. First flight over the North Pole.
Once upon a time, in a faraway land, there was
Hijack City. Oh, Saturnalia. Come on, man. Hijack City. Speed this baby up. Ain't got no sound to it, so all we got is the footage. But this is the Arctic, probably. It's at North Pole. I'm gonna go back, man. I want to get the Antarctica drop specifically. And I know we do it like this. Let's go back to that drop. Let's go to our feature links. That's why we put the links up, man, so that we don't gotta go crazy. Love the Caramello. Caramello rocking the drop, man, and you know what I'm saying, always putting it down. Always learning from this brother, man, and appreciating it, bro. Appreciating the flow. Where we go, where we go. All right, cool. Let's click on this one here. Get the drop. Get all the drop. That's why I wanted to pull this up. So I know you had some. Is the throne of sapphire or lapis lazuli seated on the throne.
In no way, shape, or form will I ever say.
Hey, we did it, man. That's why we got this featured links, man. Now let's pay attention to a piece of this again, and love to God Rules. All right, let's go. Admiral Byrd's Antarctic Expedition real footage. All right, let's go. And keep the orientation in mind. The North Star turns southward. Yeah, let me get to right about here.
To an underground installation.
Okay. I just wanted to bring this back because I kind of breezed by it last time, man. This is a hole that they saw in the ice, and then it goes into the inner earth and the hollow earth situation. But can this also be connected with just another earth pond? Are we looking at another earth pond and they sort of blurred it all out? It looks like they blurred this way out, right? So we don't know what is right here. Let's go back.
Supposed to see a huge hole in the ice.
A huge hole in the ice would be another earth pond. Okay? So if they're flying over ice and they see a hole in the ice, there's, you know what I mean, water, whatever else going down there, land. It's a huge hole in the ice. You know, I'm just trying to see the comparison between what we're seeing here. I'm perfectly circumnavigating. And what we're seeing right here.
That looked like it was an entrance to an underground installation.
Now, how big is this hole in the ice?
Later at camp near Marie Birdland, some dozen scientists disappeared for 2 weeks. When they reappeared, Brian's flight crew was assigned to pick them up, and all were silent and appeared scared. Brian and his C-130 crew received orders to not talk about the silver discs, or the huge ice hole, or the missing scared scientists. Repeatedly, the crew was sternly told that they did not see
pyramids. We keep seeing those pop up in on our filter images. You know what I'm saying? So what's going down in Antarctica, man? And again, why does the Perry Reese map show no ice, no freeze over in Antarctica at all? at all. Let me go back so I remember to link this interview up. All right, man. Let's just take it from here. Y'all want to belly flop in Operation High Jump, man? Because we might have to pick this up next time right here at Operation High Jump.
Using the law of attraction,
Come on, man. You want to talk about law of attraction, man? Just stay away from the hijacks, man. Just stay away from the hijacks. Let's go. Just checking out this footage. I don't know if there's any sound on this video. This might be all footage. Yeah, man. I don't know what's going on with that drop. I'm just belly flopping over here with y'all, man. I think there was another high jump link. There we go. Let's check this one out.
And the answer to the riddle of whether Antarctica is a
Little America. Ross Ice Shield. Let's go.
continent or two great islands separated by a channel beneath the polar ice cap. Deep in this bitter vortex of wind and snow may be found the secret of weather. The Antarctic has been invaded by adventurous men several times. The land, when a little band of scientists and Navy men literally carved their own community out of ice and snow.
Let me just back it up right quick and see what they said about this separation.
Deep in this bitter vortex of wind and snow may be found the secret of weather.
Secret of weather.
And the answer to the riddle of whether Antarctica is a continent or two great islands separated by a channel beneath the polar ice cap.
Does that make sense to you? I mean, if you're trying to put it together, if you think you're on a ball and you think this is at the bottom of your ball, then why wouldn't you think it's a continent? Or just two ice sheets, with separated by some canal underneath. So they had in question even then if Antarctica was a continent or not. And now we know it's an ice wall. Now, are they just referring to one of the gates? A channel? They said underneath the ice shield, what they say?
Fields of the future. And the answer to the riddle of whether Antarctica is a continent or two great islands separated by a channel beneath the polar ice cap.
A channel beneath the polar ice cap. So is that how you get through the gates? By going beneath the polar ice caps? Let's go.
Deep in this bitter vortex of wind and snow may be found the secret of weather. The Antarctic has been invaded by adventurous men several times. The land, when a little band of scientists and Navy men literally carved their own community out of ice and snow. Little America. Under the guidance of Rear Admiral Richard E. Byrd, their organizer-in-chief, the group lived for a year and a half, defying the incredible cold of the long winter, when the temperature sometimes dropped to 70 degrees below zero. And even the Arctic rescue...
Man, so they lived out there for a year and a half. What were they looking for? They over there, just looking for something, right? What did he say he found? More land beyond the pole.
We're snowbound. Safe in the haven they had built, the men defeated boredom by preparing for the milder weather of the Antarctic spring. To work trying out new equipment, making scientific tests of the ice shelf, unearthing the Antarctic secrets by plane and sled, boldly challenging the unknown. Like Bird, who in 1935 lived a dangerous solitary life completely isolated near the South Pole for 4.5 months. It was these pioneers, with their now outdated equipment, the obsolete planes, and old-fashioned whaling vessels, who blazed the way for Operation High Jump, the great expedition of 1946-47. Admiral Byrd was officer in charge of the project, while another polar veteran commanded Task Force 68, Rear Admiral Richard H. Cruzen. Under their command was an impressive armada of 13 ships, manned by 4,000 men, generously equipped with a variety of planes.
So are we talking about a recon exhibition or expedition to do some research? Right now, every time they talk Antarctica, it's research, man. We just got a base for research. It's just, looking at the fauna, looking at the coral. Does it look like they're going to do some scientific research? Or does it look like they about to pop it off? They got ammo on ammo on ammo. I'm asking you, does it look like they're there for research? Or is that they're about to go to war?
Rear Admiral Richard H. Cruzen. Under their command was an impressive armada of 13 ships, manned by 4,000 men.
They rode up there with 4,000 men, 13 ships,
generously equipped with a variety of planes.
Hella planes.
Ranging in size from great amphibian mariners to nimble bee-like helicopters. All specially prepared for cold weather flight. The Navy's mission was not only to explore, but also to train men and test ships and equipment in cold weather operations. There was radar to scan the icebergs, and racks of miraculous trimetragon cameras. When plane-borne, they would shoot the barren ice deserts from horizon to horizon. And there were dogs and sleds. For under extreme weather conditions, the oldest means of Antarctic transportation was still the most dependable. So selected huskies were sent to special kennels in New Hampshire for training, while craftsmen kept their fingers nimble for rigging sleds. It was all after exhaustive their final up and gave the signal to go. In December 1946, the first unit slowly moved out to sea. Several of these men were veterans of previous expeditions. Yet the lure of the unknown had drawn them to volunteer again.
Come on, bro. Wakey, wakey. Does it look like they're going on an expedition? When people say expedition today, they just got, their backpacks and, they got their mountain climbing gear. This is full on military, man. They're not there to pitch tents. They're there locked and loaded. And you heard what happened. Within a matter of 8 weeks, we got it from the last drop. Within a matter of 8 weeks, they came back defeated. Now, who was over there defeating them? What you're witnessing is this corporation sending Admiral Byrd out because of his expertise to lead these people to war across the barrier.
Even to the sailor, for whom the sea is an old story, there is adventure in the oceans at the end of the world.
End of the world.
Fun and excitement in passing under the torrid sun of the equator. Suddenly, the outposts of the polar sea came into sight. Great icebergs, massive as forts, guarding the lonely approaches to Antarctica. But there was no challenge from them. The only living things to be seen were schools of frolicking whales. Undisturbed by the man-made whales, the submarine Senate that rose among them. Or seals that lazily refused to move from their bed of ice as the intruders passed them by. As the ships penetrated the great ice pack that stood between them and Little America, they moved slowly, cautiously, through the silent, hostile ice. The task force commander, Admiral Cruzen, soared skyward repeatedly to reconnoiter the danger ahead and on all sides. Here, the ice no longer floated in giant fragments that could be skirted, but had joined and stretched into vast white prairies that encroached on every foot of open water, and on the ships for whom open water meant movement and safety. Ahead of the pack plunged the Coast Guard icebreaker North Wind, striving to keep an open lane through the frozen waters, but found it was like cutting through a jungle that opened ahead and silently closed in behind. First victim was the USS Mount Olympus, fixed motionless by the ice as though settled in a frigid pool of glue. This was the moment for the big north wind, the plunging back of the expedition team to prove its mettle. Captain Charles W. Thomas called the play.
Can't you see that they're trying to break through the barrier? Very similar like the firmament. They're trying to break through the firmament. They're trying to break through this firmament.
And into the stiff, resisting shield of ice it crashed, slashing into it and bearing down, like a wrestler and fencer combined. Hacking, crushing.
All this is separating the waters from the water.
Grinding, till the trap was shattered and the victim free. But the relentless ice insisted on its prey, the submarine Senate, twice frozen in and twice released. Its frail skin constantly menaced by ice pressure, its nose crushed, the Senate was ordered to give up and turn home. The rest of the Argosy pushed on, right up to the ice barrier of the Ross Sea shelf, behind which lay the Bay of Whales and Little America. The only entrance was through a miraculous canyon in the ice barrier.
Now, they're doing all this with super duper, they said, man-made whales. So if these are man-made whales, then what are the airplanes? Man-made dragons? Now, that one had to give up and go back. Now, imagine trying to take your little boat. You know what I mean? Just to try to get through that part to even get to the wall.
A narrow gap no more than 400 yards wide and slowly closing every day. Through this, the ships disappeared, one by one, creeping between giant jaws of ice that loomed threateningly off either bow. A harmless threat, though, for all emerged without mishap into the Bay of Whales. Ahead was a landfall of solid ice and Little America. Navy and Marine cameramen scrambled to be the first ashore, only to find that the invisible man had beaten them to it. Then came the mooring party. Here they are making fast the cargo ship Merrick by means of a so-called dead man, a huge timber embedded in a deep hole, locked fast by water, which instantly freezes it to the ice, then filled in and tacked hard, making a rock-like anchorage. Another group negotiates for squatters' rights with the local landlords, who are, it seems, somewhat evasive, or maybe just cold to the idea of doing business. The most dramatic task of that first day falls to a small scouting party, charged with looking into the permanent installations of Little America, left behind in 1941. They are easily found. Although many blizzards have dropped their tons of snow on those buildings, the chimneys and ventilators still thrust above the snow, lonely guardians of the base. It's more difficult to locate an entrance. That elaborate detecting device, an old-fashioned shovel, is brought into play, and a way in is soon found. Marine Captain Vernon D. Boyd, a veteran of the last expedition, makes the first entry. The only man in the world to imitate Santa Claus in a chimney that's underground. Well, maybe it's below ground because this is the
that's
South
crazy.
and not the North Pole. It is 6 years since a living thing has moved through that passage. When Captain Boyd disappears, the exploring party waits tensely for a sign from below. There it is, the signal that the main entrance has been discovered. Captain Boyd reappears to announce that the Antarctic's deep freezing has preserved everything perfectly. But the old camp is left untouched. Task Force 68 unloads its own supplies, faced by the Navy's tireless Seabees. Dog teams pitch in to do their bit. But the heavy hauling is done by weasels and tractors. Crevasses are bridged by steel mats, supported by beams flung across the gap. Precious food caches are laid in, with windbreaks of solid ice to protect them. And one of the inevitable landlords sitting by, puzzled no doubt at this new technique of prefabricated housing. The photographers, too, quickly set up their headquarters. As the tent city, strongly rigged against icy blasts, rises swiftly. As soon as the signal comes from Little America that all is ready, 6 huge Douglas transports, known to the Navy as R-4Ds, make jet assist takeoffs from the USS Philippine Sea, 600 miles to the north. The largest aircraft ever to leave a carrier's flight deck. They come roaring onto a ready-made landing field at Little America. One of their passengers is Bird. He is greeted by Admiral Cruzen, who has landed with the shore party. There is a brief pause for the dedication of Little America number 4.
Hijack City.
Then the expedition swings swiftly into high gear. Off to the Rockefeller Mountains towards a caravan of alligators on a test run, speeding like snow whippets down a flat track of the ice field. On the airfield, the big planes are prepared for their first mission. While equipment is carefully installed, the flight leaders get a briefing from the expedition chief. JATO takeoff speeds the giant craft into the air. Carry out the greatest feat of exploration in polar history, the aerial mapping of 175,000 square miles of unexplored territory.
Now, don't get it twisted. They're meeting with their chief, right? They're meeting with their battle chief. Remember, this is a battle. Don't let them lull you to sleep about this expedition and aerial mapping. They're doing reconnaissance missions. This is a battle.
On this most photographed of expeditions, cameramen are everywhere. This is the best they could shoot in the way of local beauty. Not too bad for a SEAL glamour girl.
You see how they try to lull you to sleep? Oh, the penguins. Oh, the seals. They lost some lives in this battle now.
Guys creep. They're the kind of people who love to drink hot toddies in Turkish baths.
Hijack City.
No, these fearless mermen, nothing. Except maybe for an iceberg such as this. Like an unwelcome weekend visitor, this big fellow suddenly slips into the Bay of and comes knocking at the door of Little America. Its unwilling hosts quickly slip their moorings and give their visitor a wide berth. 1,000 miles away, the Eastern Group has an adventure when Captain Dufek, its commander, while crossing on a line between the USS Brownson and Pine Island, is suddenly pitched into the icy sea, where death by exposure can come in a matter of minutes.
Hey.
A motor whaler daringly fishes him out in a brilliant piece of seamanship.
is not an instant too soon. A little while longer in those terrifyingly icy waters, and Captain Dufek would have been beyond recovery.
All right, man. We just digging on just a little bit of visuals when we talk worlds beyond the poles. This is all they were doing. Invading. Some more things, Some more places, but there are no ends to the earth. There is no end. So now you're digging on something else. Let's pick it up from here. The enduring pages of history are finally etched with record of dreamer enterprise, which was diametrically opposed to the established concept of a particular time and place, but the dream helped build our civilization despite majority disdain. It was thus from the time the fool threw black dirt into the open wood fire and through such foolishness established the value and purpose of coal, he and an exclusive battalion of others representing the majority was pleased to label crackpots, visionaries, dreamers, madmen. But they were the fearless experimenters of pure scientists, comprising the always ostracized civilization-building clan. Their indomitable spirits were nourished by a creative nectar too potent for normal majority consumption. Yeah. The following, therefore, may serve as a timely guide for understanding values contributing towards civilization's development, and it may thereby permit easier comprehension of values. This work is intended to present in terms that all may grasp. Socrates, the ancient, profound philosopher, was considered mad by the majority of his time and place, and the immortal Christus, the immortal Christ. Come on, man. Was Christ venerated? Christ of Ophir? Did he want to be venerated as a god? The immortal Christus was denounced as mad on more than one occasion. We may read the strangeness of Robert Fulton, who harbored an insane idea or harnessed steam for the propulsion of boats. All right. So he's saying, I ain't crazy. And, when you dig on this and you start fact checking this stuff, man, and, that's when you really, you have to take that breath, man, and say, is this for real, for real? And it's been years of us reading this, and I'm still like, is this for real, for real? It was then disclosed that the observable luminosity of all celestial areas result from the fact that every celestial area possesses the same sky. So it's a big lie that they say, oh, Mars has a different atmosphere. Jupiter has a different atmosphere. They all are just like Earth because all of it is Earth. It was then disclosed that the observable luminosity of all celestial areas results from the fact that every celestial area possesses the same known sky, the same sky known to envelope the terrestrial. It was claimed that the Earth's blue sky is luminous when observed against the dark stratosphere by inhabitants of celestial land territory. Hence, it is the existence of a blue sky enveloping all celestial areas which permits terrestrial inhabitants to observe that celestial blue sky's gaseous luminosity against stratosphere darkness. In 1927, science was without knowledge that any terrestrial sky area would be luminous when observed from beyond the sky. What does it mean? Any terrestrial, that's any part of what we call Earth, Any terrestrial sky area would be luminous just like a star when observed from beyond the sky. There had been no stratosphere observation of photography which could have shown the appearance of any terrestrial outer sky area. The first observation and photograph was achieved by the stratosphere explorer Professor Auguste Piccard, May 1931. And this is what we got last drop, digging on that, breaking through that water, them waters above, waters below, and only approximated a view and photograph of a terrestrial sky area for stratosphere darkness because Piccard had not achieved sufficient altitude for a complete dark stratosphere background, which would properly express outer sky luminosity. And then it went into this physical continuity. And it's late, man, so I'm gonna get this for the dismount. The Pilgrim. So now he's comparing himself to Columbus, right? The Pilgrim, who had explained such a condition as skylight, had never journeyed to and within the stratosphere, yet he accurately described all that was to be seen by Piccard 4 years later. And his description contained all that was to be shown by the more detailed photographs procured through the U.S. Air Force Stratosphere Ascension over the Black Hills of South Dakota in 1935. Research, my naga, the U.S. Air Force Stratosphere Ascension over Black Hills, South Dakota in 1935, in addition to records of stratosphere cameras in 1931 and 1935. He described in minute detail that which was photographed by U.S. Naval Research Bureau V-2 rockets camera in October 1946. Such photographs procured in all an altitude of 65 miles. They went up 65 miles. Is that past the stratosphere? That's damn near the mesosphere. Showed an oblique angle, a deceptively disc-like isolated sky area over White Sand, New Mexico. So White Sands, New Mexico suddenly looked like a disc or a globular isolated body from 65 miles away. It looked like another little star or planet. So when you see all these planets and stars, you're just talking about White Sands, New Mexico. So you're just talking about more land. It's not like, oh, this star right here represents another America. Nah, it just might represent an area the size of White Sands, New Mexico. And subsequent naval research stratosphere photographs at greater altitudes hold most sensational confirmation of physical continuity. We're just talking about the continuity, man. The continuity. And like I said, I wasn't able to get, a lot of drop on this moon plasma situation. I've been digging. I'm going to keep digging on it. Like I said, with this magnetic situation, the moon, it says the magnetic field of the moon is very weak. It says little to none, just like old boy was kicking Dr. Foster. In comparison to that of the Earth, the major difference is the moon does not have a dipolar magnetic field currently, so that the magnetization, magnetization present is varied in origin, always or almost entirely crustal in location. So it is difficult to compare as a percentage to Earth, but one estimate is about 5 microtesla compared to Earth. Our hypothesis holds that the crustal magnetizations were acquired early in lunar history when geodynamo was still operating. Okay, or there's not any magnetic field connected to this plasma. And maybe this plasma is just kicking out a certain type of energy that might or might not be beneficial to you and to me. We're just talking worlds beyond the poles, man. Yeah. More worlds beyond the poles. And we ask you, is it play? Where's the central pole in this world? Where's the north-south pole in this earth pond? Now you can see a perspective of, oh, that's the North Pole. That's the South Pole on my ball. But where's the North-South Pole on this planet? This plane. Because when you're talking planet, my people, in etymology, you're only talking a flat, spread out surface. So where do you get a ball? You're just talking wondrous stars, which are like Jupiter and Saturn, very devious. Oh, Saturnalia, you repel. Saturnalia, you dissuade our people from the right path. The Leviathan destroy Atlantis based on the word, the commandment of the Creator. Are you spinning on a ball or are you on a flat, spread out planet? And is there more worlds beyond the pole? And next time we'll dig more on some Enoch drop, man, and just see where we go. There's some great drop here dealing with the moon as well, and the source that we got last time. Why doesn't the blue earth reflect onto the moon's surface? Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, these are the basics. I know it seems like we're just jumping in on things, but we've been doing it for quite some time. So you might just be saying, man, what's up with this, man? Why doesn't the blue of earth reflect onto the moon? Because the moon's supposed to be much smaller than the earth. But the book of Enoch said they're the same size. They're the same size. The sun's supposed to be 93 million miles away. Do you believe it? Do you buy it? Do you buy that the sun is 93 million miles away? The moon is 238,000 miles from Earth. Do you believe it? The big question is then, why doesn't the deep blue marble of Earth shine blue onto the moon if it is 4 times larger than the moon and also reflecting off the sun nearly the same distance away? I have never heard anyone ask this most basic question before, much less get a plausible answer. Gray is one of the least reflective surfaces after black. Science tells us that the pale gray, round ball, moon reflects golden sun evenly across the surface of the earth on the full moon. The full moonlight is so bright that one can see clearly at night. The light is silvery and cool. We just talked about the different properties of the moonlight and sunlight. It's not warm and golden. It's silvery and cool. It has a completely different property than the sunlight. And you don't get that based on the reflection. How can a round ball reflecting the sun not have a hot spot? How can something round reflect evenly across another round ball object? How could they walk on the moon if the sun reflection was so intense that it can light up the earth at night from 238,000 miles away at night? If the earth is 4 times larger than the moon, why doesn't the blue marble reflect onto the moon? And yeah, this is a great follow-up, man. Why is moonlight warmer in the shade than in direct light? In other words, why is moon shade warmer than moonlight? This would be a great place to pick up on this experimentation next time, man. And hey, man, shout out to Eric DeBay, man. Who Broke down many walls and barriers, man, along the way. We just surfing a wave in some flat drop, man. Digging on some worlds beyond the pole. Trying to put our orientation back together. Overstanding. At Brighton in 1927, the term stars and planets were held to have meaning only for the mathematical universe, which is based on or developed from the hypothesis founded on illusion. Their mathematical Thawthism, their Atlantis hijack duality, mathematical hijack, is an illusion. Matrix. Conclusions for the dismount. The conclusions herein related negate the existence of astronomy, star, and planet entities within the bounds of reality and reason. They have application as isolated entities only to the world of the illusion. So whenever you want to talk your isolated entities, bodies, planets, stars, it's only related to the world of illusion. Thus, the conclusion in a world of reality holds that such assumed entities are lens, produce, and stay steady and keep being steady water for the tribe. And we'll pick it up in part 5 next time of this flat drop 1972. I mean, heavyweight perspective right here. Which satellite in 1972 snapped this? What's this got to do with Atlantis? The mantis called Chris, who said he found you in a new world. Christ of over. We're just surfing the wave. Allow, peace, and power.